are known for affordable housing, right?
Right.
And right now, that is a term that has been coined all across this nation because of the rising housing prices. But the term affordable housing has been, I like to say, hijacked into meaning rental property. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it. Um, and you're right. Some of these words become so overused that they lose their meaning. So we don't talk about building affordable housing anymore. We talk about building houses with families in need, and um, and affordability is, in our this economic environment, affordability becomes an especially significant issue because it costs a lot. It costs a lot more to buy the lumber and to buy the shingles, and so we're always looking for donations. We have some excellent, we have partnership with World Vision of all people, who provide us all kinds of shingles and insulation and things like that. But yeah, we have a neighborhood here in Americus that it was built by Habitat. It was called the Easter Morning Subdivision, and it was quite lovely. Well, they there were many reasons for it, but they had too many families selected too quickly, and the families weren't properly vetted, and they wouldn't make their payments, and some of them got evicted from their homes. Well, what they did, though, the mistake they made is they sold those homes to investors, and they've become rental properties. And you can drive through that neighborhood and you can say rental, ownership, rental. I mean, it's not the same. And everybody needs a place to live. And I don't begrudge anyone that need to live in a rental house. I did for a number of years when we were young and poor and silly. But people that spend their entire lives in rental housing have a different attitude towards the house than somebody who owns it. So I'm not a fan of rental, and our program anticipates that if one of the families needs to move, that we'll work together to find a family to buy the house so that it remains a home ownership house and doesn't turn into a rental property.
I agree with, excuse me, David, I really agree with you as far as don't turn these homes into rental property. Rental property could, because people who are renting, they don't look at it as I own this and I'm going to take care of it. Oh, this is the landlord's problem. And it brings down a community or a neighborhood or even your next door neighbor's property, if it's not maintained or taken care of. So definitely, just like Roosevelt says, this affordable housing explanation has been hijacked. Even more so here, I know for a fact that especially young people, they are looking for home ownership, being introduced to this rental property or affordable housing. It's not that they don't want to become homeowners. It's what they're being offered as if this is all they can afford. But one thing that we really need is a class to teach about home ownership and how to get home ownership, because like I say, people really want it, and especially young people now. Some of them don't even know how they're going to pay their rent. Mine remained the same. As a matter of fact, it's going down. So, it's a big difference, and my heart really goes out, and I really hope that we can get someone in this community who can just really talk about home ownership, open up home ownership classes, and allow people to come in and start investing in that. So that would be
we need to talk to Lee Jeter about that, because they have tools and things that they can use to help with that sort of training. It'll be a good thing for community renewal. Yeah. That'd be a great course for community to renewal to undertake.
Well, and David, I think with Roosevelt's leadership in this topic, I think Allendale Strong is going to take the role of convener. and Community Renewal and Fuller Center to reach out as partners in that to bring their resources to the conversation. And I was thinking about what's happened. Having Fuller Center in Shreveport has been great, but what we had initially with Fuller Center was an intense purpose. We had a plan for what we were trying to do for an area of town. And my feeling is since that time, there's opportunities where land exists. There may be an initiative for a group like the Vet Build, but there's really not the community growing event or that we had with this Allendale initiative. And that as we look to how do we do more of what we did, I'm thinking that's kind of in, last time it was a little bit of volunteer planning, a little bit of support from the city with the contract that our firm had. But I'm thinking this time we can find a way to do that citizen-led completely, and with pro bono resources on the planning, and see if we couldn't create that same sort of intense push to get something done.
But there's tremendous value in building community, which has happened in Allendale, where a community has been built. But there are a number of factors that go into that we need to work through. One is we had the land. It was a struggle to get it all titled over, but it worked, and the land became a part of it. So we didn't have to pay for the land. We also had a lot of money at that point, and we were able to bring a lot of money into the city to help make the project happen. Mac has mentioned to me the MLK neighborhood more than one time. I don't know where that is. Is that someplace that is a candidate for this? Are there more places in Allendale it would be?
Well, actually both. I think Allendale Strong's push will be for Allendale, which is a more compact city environment.
Yeah.
But MLK is more like a rural community. At one time, it was considered to be the largest African-American community, I don't know if in the US or some region, at 30,000 people. It was coming out of the Civil War. That community was established as an African-American community. And today it sits at about 7,000 people. But it's a very large geography, and it's more like a rural community. So that presents new challenges for community renewal, but there's also a lot of land. So it is a candidate for another initiative.
But go ahead, Roosevelt, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the MLK area is funny. The MLK area is actually where my family, going all the way back to the Emancipation Proclamation, they actually bought land, and our families stay in the area. And he's correct; it is a more rural area, but it's also a area that is growing because of its connection to, I guess, going farther north, so North Bossier and things like that.
Well, where in Allendale would you think about? Would you think about being on the other side of the road? I know there's that land up by where the art center is. Is that
you brought up a couple of points. Land, we've got to assemble that, and then funding. But one place to look would be the path of I-49.
Yeah.
Because land has been cleared over time, and there's a lot of adjudicated property. As you recall, we were fortunate to have our friend Murray Lloyd kind of running interference on a lot of the land acquisition pieces. So, but Allendale had about in the 60s had about 20,000 people living in it. And today it has about 5. So that's an indicator that there's a lot of land capacity for building and renewing that the neighborhood, which is really the first neighborhood adjacent to the central business district. And we've got the problem of the city building these big apartment complexes, which makes it for me, and it's just my experience, the way I see the world, the planning aspect is something that needs to happen.
Right.
But it needs to happen with this kind of focus. And Allendale Strong is a learning and doing community, which is essentially announcing whenever we get willingness and we encounter a problem, we're going to form a learning doing group. Well, there's some talk of maybe next groups. And one of those is around land acquisition and the forming of a community land trust as a way to begin to assemble the land, and which will require city support and maybe some funder support. But it's certainly a viable strategy that's been proved time and time again, if it's led by the community and the community's clear on its purpose. They're not always successful. And that's usually why they're not clear and they're not community led. But so I appreciate your kind of giving us the step 1, step 2 on that. And I guess I'm going to add a step 3, which is the plan.
Now, we kind of went through a lot of things in this conversation. And I guess one of the last questions that we want to kind of talk to you about is how do you think we can do more of this? You and I think you touched on it a little bit already. And how do you think we can do it better?
Well, more is always the question that's out there, and that you can't do it without the money. That has to be a factor. But the fact is that there's a lot of money in Shreveport. And Miller used to say, if the money's out there, we just have to find a way to get it out of their pockets and into ours. And when we first started this project, we had huge relationships with the churches. The Methodist Church downtown, the Big Baptist Church, they were heavily involved. To me, the Baptist Church is out a little ways. Anyway, they were heavily involved in, and I don't know if they're still involved with the Fuller Center. When it went local, we had less of an engagement with them. But what I'm saying is that the money should not be an issue. It's always available. You just need to find it. I'll tell you a quick story about a group. This is years and years ago. There's a group in Florida that was trying to get started, a little habitat group, and they didn't have any money. And they called Miller and said, well, what can we do? And they said, well, we do have land. They said, well, all right, go out. He told them, go out and dig the footers out for a house. Put a big sign in front of it that you're going to build a house, habitat. And so they did. And nothing happened. They came back the next week and Miller, we dug the foundation, nothing happened. And he said, go back, dig it out and do it again. So they did. They went out, dug all the footers out again, and came back, Miller, nothing happened. He said, well, you got to do it again. There's something not happening here. So they did. And while they're out there working, this guy drove by in a big old Cadillac, and he stopped. And he said, I've been watching you folks for the last 2 or 3 weeks, trying to figure out what in the heck you're doing. And they explained to him, we're getting ready. We want to build a house. We've got a family in need, and we're going to build a house with them. And he said, well, why aren't you doing it? And they said, we need the money. Well, how much do you need? Well, it'll be about $25,000. This is back in time. About 25. He said, well, all right, let's take care of it. Pulled out his checkbook, wrote him a check for $25,000, and was on his way. And this is a true story. And the message of the story is that faith works, prayer works, and the money will come. But you have to have that thing coming together. So if you get the land, get the money, doing it better. Ask him how to do it better. I think we do a good job of building a house. We can always do a better job, especially in these times when prices are so high. And we don't want to be building for middle class folks, building houses so expensive that they're the only ones that can afford them. So we want to keep our costs as low as we can. But I'll tell you this, if we started doing a project in another Allendale project, we could get some volunteers in from around the country to help.
Yeah.
So that's sort of it, you know, and you've got the leadership, you got the team. And we'll be happy to help any way we can, and we'll get the folks there motivated to get more involved in helping you too.
David, there's always been a thought on my mind that something that we just weren't able to do the first time around. And it occurred when Millard announced that y'all were bringing $5 million to build 50 homes, you know, that's like, whoa, we've got economic developers who are out here recruiting investment in the city, and they always give incentives, and they all, you know, just all this stuff. And I thought, well, what a wonderful thing. What can we do as a city and a community to leverage that investment to do more for Allendale? And my feeling was that we really, other than what's happened with the residents in the spirit of community, we really didn't leverage that investment, and it had to do with a lot of resistance that was thrown in the way, whether it was getting the land or you know, some leaders in the community that were resistant to white folks coming in to help, or you know, just a number of different points of resistance that never let that conversation get on the table well enough to explore, well, who else could we attract to add to this investment in Allendale in homes and business? And I would wonder going forward if we can create that conversation. And I don't know, maybe we can create it ahead of activity so that we can deal with resistance we know we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you're onto something. And really, the time to work on that is ahead of it instead of behind it, like we were doing with the other one. Like, you got a little bit of a food desert problem there in that neighborhood, I think.
Yeah.
There's not access to other services. So if a project were to include a grocery store, you know, I've often wondered why we couldn't go to, who's that big grocery store in town?
Well, there's Brookshire's and there's Albertsons. But David, I have to share this with you. Another learning doing group of Allendale Strong is in the process of forming a food cooperative grocery store.
All right.
Just seeing that solves multiple things. It's, you know, cooperatives are all about relationships.
Yep.
And so we've got currently about 32 equity members.
Oh, cool.
And we're looking to grow that. You know, we had one of what started it was the possibility of the corner store that Fuller Center renovated and attempted. Yeah. Is that it's still a facility that and so the idea of the group right now is, could we do a network of corner stores in inner city neighborhoods? There's about 20 of them, so that we could get the buying advantage and some of the, you know, we're just a group of people who know nothing about the grocery business in this learning community. But we have connected with a national food cooperative initiative that is providing guidance, and they've given a seed grant, and we're making progress.
That sounds great. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, it fits so well with what you're doing because it is about ownership. The community owns and democratically governs the grocery store.
That's very wise indeed. Well, we have to be able to feed each other, have to be able to teach the kids, you have to stay healthy. And it's all easier if you have a home to live in.
Yeah,
yeah, you are so correct. You're so correct about that. And I think this is probably a good place to, you know, kind of go end it really, pretty much. I was trying to say it eloquently, but, you know, everything we talked about today fits into the, I guess, the new way that Allendale Strong is going. we're still fighting the I-49 inner city connector, but we've always talked about what are we fighting for, and we're fighting for the families and the future homeowners of Allendale, and everything that we're trying to do for the future is for the future growth of Allendale, and everything you've done for the neighborhood and the city and really the world, because Fullerton is building all over the world. You're helping out so many people, and I want to say that we're blessed to have you on this earth, Mr. David Snell. We're blessed that you were able to fulfill and keep fulfilling the dream of Millard Fuller and Linda Fuller. And we're so blessed to know you and have you.
Well, God bless you. I appreciate it. And I want to remind you of one thing. You may have mentioned this last time, Kim, but we feel that you can measure the righteousness of an undertaking by the quality of the obstacles placed in its way. And you folks have faced and are facing some huge obstacles, which tells me you're in a righteous undertaking. So God bless you. And I'm delighted to be a part of it, and keep me informed and keep me part of it.
Well,
Thank you so much, David. We really appreciate you and we love you. Thanks for the work.
thank you, David.
All right. So don't hang up yet. But I just want to give our little closing statements. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Allendale Strong podcast. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out on any place that you listen to your podcast. Also, check us out on YouTube. We also put the videos up on YouTube for you to check out at the Allendale Strong YouTube channel. Also, check out allendalestrong.org, which is our website, where you can find information on any of the future events that we may have for future homeowner summits. And also, you can sign up to check out our meetings that we have is it first or second Thursday?
Every second Thursday.
Every second Thursday of the month. So, and everybody check out Tattered Passports, the book by Mr. David Snell.
Yes.
Go and buy that book right now. And just thank you for letting us and listen to us, and please still go out there and good things and do good things out there. Be a good human like Mr. David Snell and Kim and Dorothy right now. Just thank everybody for listening to us today. Everyone have a blessed and wonderful day.
Thanks, Roosevelt. Thank you.